Hey all, good evening and welcome to another session with me, Varun at Ekagra. And in this session, we'll be talking about the chapter 3 of class 8 NCERT and subject is science. So welcome to another free e-learning session with me on Ekagra. And for all those of you who have queries or if there's anything that you want to talk about or probably reach out to me, you can do that on my Instagram platform that's mentioned below. You have the ID that is Hyderabadi_Chor and you can reach out to me on that email ID, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. And the name of this chapter would be synthetic fibers and plastics. We've already covered two chapters in the previous two videos, and in this video we'll be looking about the third. And for all those of you who don't know me, my name is Varun Rao. I work as a developer, a YouTuber, and a freelance educator. And I also follow my passion doing hip hop or rap music. And I also have a channel that is Hyderabadi Chora, as you can see at the left bottom corner. This is the logo, and this is me. And I also have another channel which works on data science and artificial intelligence. And the name of that channel is Tech Tablet. And this free series is being posted as a part of as a part of the initiative of Republic Day 2021. So I really hope you find this informative and enjoyable as well. And the difference that I'm trying to come up with is we're trying to keep things as simple as possible, ensure that almost all the topics required are gathered at one place, and we are directly using the textbook so that you can have a cross check or a verification or something to go back and check between the video and what you're studying every day. Right. So without delaying any further, let us quickly begin and understand what synthetic fiber and plastics are. Now, to begin with, we all know that since ages we clothes, right? And the clothing that we wear, clothing that we come up with is made up of different wool. We have cotton, we have whatnot, we have artificial fibers, we have polyester, we have a lot of materials, correct? But where do we get all these materials from? Now, when we talk about cotton or when we talk about wool, we know that these come from plants and animals. But what about things like synthetic fiber? We all must have worn sports clothing, right? And when you run a lot, you see that even if you sweat a lot, your t-shirts are still dry. And how does this, how does this happen? This happens because they are made out of synthetic fiber. So without wasting any time, let us quickly go into and understand what synthetic fibers are and how they work and what is their use on the whole. So firstly, when we talk about synthetic or anything which is not man-made or sorry, anything which is not natural or anything which does not exist in the world by itself is called synthetic. Now, as you can see here, we have beads that are joined together, and on the right-hand side, we have some paper clips. Now, this is how synthetic is also arranged. They are basically, a chain-like structure which are joined with the help of one another. And this join or this bond that you see is pretty strong as compared to other metals or other materials as well. We can also say that a synthetic dress is more stronger than a piece of iron, and this may be a bit difficult for for a lot of us to believe, but this is how it is. Now, from synthetic fibers, we have something called as polymers. Now, what is polymer? Now, we'll just make a note of different words that we come across so that we're not getting confused in the end. So the first word that we would like to write about is polymer. Polymer, when we do sandhi vichhed to this, or when we try to break the words into two parts, we have poly, which means many, right? And ma, which means unit. So we have many units of a piece or of an element which are formed to come up with something called as a polymer. And notwithstanding this, the other two materials are synthetic fiber and man-made fiber, right? Synthetic or man-made fiber. Now, all these polyester materials or things which are made out of poly are generally man-made. Polymers, by the way, they exist in natural form also. We can say that cotton is one of the best examples of polymers. Cellulose, which we find within cotton, is one of is made of multiple glucose units, and that is how we can call cellulose as a chain of glucose units, and all these together they comprise cotton. This is how we can say that even cotton is a chain of polymer, or is a variant of polymer, right? Now, going forward, there are some very important fibers that we would want to talk about. The first one being rayon. Okay, it is also called as artificial silk. Rayon was replaced, I wouldn't call it replaced, but rayon was used as or considered as another flavor of silk, because original silk was way too expensive and it was very difficult to find. And at that point of time, when we had rayon, people found that this was the perfect replacement for this very expensive natural element that is silk. And we all know silk is not obtained from a tree, it's actually obtained from a small insect, right? And that is how people started to use rayon as a very cheaper and easily available replacement of actual silk. And rayon is mixed with cotton to make bed sheets. I mean, these bed sheets which we use most of the times, or carpets which we use, as you can see in your example here. You have bed sheets, or cotton. Even wool is sometimes mixed with rayon to come up with something which is more stronger. Then the next one after rayon we have is nylon. The names sound a bit close to each other, but I don't think they should be very difficult for us to remember. Nylon, for the first time, was made out of coal, water, and air. I'm not sure if you can believe this, but this is how nylon was made. And we use a lot of nylon materials in our day-to-day life. For example, the socks which you wear, or the car seat belt that you put on, the toothbrushes that we have. The parachute material is also made of nylon. Why? Because it is very strong, it is highly elastic, and it is very lightweighted, right? So these three qualities, that is, it is very strong, it is lightweighted, and it is elastic. These three properties make nylon a very, very important kind of a costume, or very important kind of a material to be used within costumes that we use every day. But how many of us also know that nylon is a material which is used for even mountaineers or parachute gliders, as I was just discussing. So, in short, nylon is a very, very strong material, and we wouldn't want to kind of consider nylon as a material which is only used for socks, or t-shirts or shirts. It's something which is much beyond. You may want to actually try holding a nylon t-shirt, and you may want to roll it into, and try pulling. You see that it's very elastic and it's very strong. All right, now if you're trying to cut it with a scissor, then I don't think you should do that. If you're doing that, then any clothing that you wear is definitely subject to getting torn. Right. So the next one that we have within our topic, the next very important or something that changed the world, was polyester. Polyester in the initial days, it was something which people became very happy about. It is another variant of synthetic fiber. It does not get wrinkled easily. You don't have wrinkles on your t-shirt. It is very suitable for making dress materials. And you all must have seen that we wear polyester shirts or t-shirts, and it's very famous amongst those people who play sports, because polyester materials, they generally don't absorb a lot of sweat, and they're very lightweighted. And even if you throw them in your bag, you'll see that they don't have any crumbles or any wrinkles on them, which is the reason why it's become all the more famous. And then you have terylene, which is also another variant of polyester. Let me just write down the name here so that you may also be able to note it down. Terylene is another variant of polyester, right? Now, when we talk about polyester, I'm sure we all know what its abbreviation is. Poly is many, and ester is a variant of a material. Okay. Now, here when we talk about PET, PET also happens to be a very important variant of polyester. PET is used in a lot of footwear. The most of the slippers that you see, they're all PET, and PET is polyethylene terephthalate. So here you have the name, and it is very famous variant of polyester, and also it's very dangerous to the nature or to the environment. As you can see here, we have a small abbreviation or a small understanding about polyester. It is actually a chemical name or repeating units of a chemical called esters. And what are esters? Esters are generally the chemicals which give fruits their smell. Right? If you see that there is a different smell for mango and banana and orange, that's because of this property called ester. And as the name suggests, when you talk about different elements like polycot or polywool or terrycot, they are all mixtures of different elements or different components, is what I would say. Polycot, for example, is a mixture of polyester and cotton. Polywool is polyester and wool. Very simple to understand. Now, most of the sweaters you wear and the shawls that you use in winters are all claimed to be 100% cotton or 100% wool. But if you go to a place which is trying to sell things at a lower price, or probably to a mela or to these huge winter sales, you would notice that there are a lot of sweaters. Almost 90% of these sweaters are made with a mix of polyester too. The reason why they're so strong, and they basically are less expensive. Okay. Then when again, how are polyesters made may be a very important question. And you may want to know that all the synthetic fibers, they're prepared from huge processing, right? And this huge processing is using raw materials of petroleum origin, and they're called as petrochemicals. Now, what are the characteristics of synthetic fiber? If you get to know about it, I think you can now understand what synthetic fiber is on the whole. So as you can see, they dry up very quickly. I would just mark where it is, so that you can also probably mark in your textbook. They dry up very quickly. They are durable and they are less expensive. The reason why I said synthetic fibers, when you go to a mela or when you go to a sale, you find that they are very cheap, and they're very affordable. Now, when I say cheap, I don't mean it in any other terms. I only mean that they're highly affordable to purchase. Now, going forward, when we talk about these kind of metals or materials, I wouldn't call it metals, I will call it materials, because we're talking about plastics. Now, there are two variants of arrangements that we can see. One is a linear variant wherein the bond is very thin and it keeps going. The other variant is cross-linked arrangement. Now, this is, if you can see, it has typically many patterns of cross hashes, or just to draw things so that you can understand it better, you would be having a hashed format. That is, it keeps going like this. Yeah, and we have this kind of an arrangement only to make it more stronger and more durable. And in this parlance, you would be surprised to know that even plastic is a variant of polymer like synthetic fiber, but it is the arrangement which makes it different from one metal or one material to another material. Now, when we take certain examples, like any plastic which can get deformed very easily. For example, here I have a small box, and this box has a lid which is made up of plastic. Now, when I talk about it, if you can see, it is very easily foldable or breakable. Now, this variant, which can get very easily deformed, is called thermoplastics, right? Even polythene or probably PVC or polyvinyl is what I remember. Yeah. So polythene and PVC. Polythene is the simple polythene bags that we use, and PVC is used in slippers and all. When we talk about these kind of variants, we see that they are thermoplastics. But then you also have some which show good resistance towards heat, and these are called thermosetting plastics. For example, all these elements which we put in oven to heat our food, or probably the ones which we use in induction material, right, which can resist a lot of heat. They are made up of thermosetting plastic. Here I have a small example. This is my steaming machine, and you all must be using variants of steam machine. If you can see this plastic, even if the water is very hot inside, this plastic is still solid. It's in its actual form, and the form of or shape does not change. Now, this is a variant of thermosetting plastic. So in this, You have some very famous examples like Bakelite or probably melamine. These two are real leading examples, and I think you should be able to remember these names, and you should get probably rewarded the right marks when you go to your exam. Now, here, if you can see, melamine is a versatile material. It resists fire and can tolerate heat much better than other plastics, right? So there are these, some real good reasons as to why the usage of plastic has become very heavy or probably prolonged over this period of time, and that is because of some reasons. And the first reason in this pursuit of using plastic is it is non-reactive. As you can see, plastic is a non-reactive material. You may expose it to wood, you may expose it to fire or water or heat. You see that they either melt or they're finished, or the property of plastic does not change much. The second one is plastics are very light. They're very light weighted. Now, when I say light, they're light in weight. And having such a light weight, they're very strong and also they are durable. Like if you buy a plastic today and if you properly use it, I'm sure even people of next generation would be able to use it. That is how durable plastic is, right? Then they're poor conductors of heat and electricity. So if you're using plastic for any of these purposes, you would not get an electric shock, right? They're poor conductors. And as you can see, a screwdriver is also made of plastic. Why? Because when you put it into a plug hole and you try to fix things up, you may actually get a shock if it is not plastic or wood. And wood is not very durable. It's not very strong also. It's just strong. So things like these have made the industry of plastic very, very wide. There are also fireproof plastics that you have available that you just have a coating of melamine and you can use it. Even this Teflon variant which we use, these Teflon uh, cookers or these Teflon pans which are used to make dosa or omelets, very preferably. Even this Teflon is a variant of plastic. It is not a paint material or it is not a metal. It's a variant of plastic which makes your oil or food less sticky onto that metal. This is how plastics have actually started taking a very important role in today's society amongst people. Also, now that there are so many advantages, are there no disadvantages? Maybe a question that you all might be having right now. But trust me, plastic also has a lot of disadvantages. And the biggest disadvantage amongst all is it affects environment. It's environmentally dangerous. And how is it dangerous? Because unlike other materials, now you can consider, okay, there are some examples. We'll take the help of these examples here. You can see that vegetables or paper, they generally get decomposed between 1 week to 30 days. A cotton cloth will take 2 to 5 months. Wood may take 10 to 15 years. Woolen clothes, they take 1 year. Or some other metals like tin, aluminum, or metal cans like all these Coca-Cola and Pepsi tins which we use, right? They also take about 100 to 500 years. But when we talk about plastic bags, they are literally non-biodegradable. You could or you would notice that. Now, what do you mean by biodegradable? They wouldn't get mixed as a part of your soil. Even if you come back to that piece after 100 years, you'll still notice that it is still just the same. And this actually is very dangerous. We also know how tortoises or turtles, sea turtles, and a lot of cows and buffaloes, they eat these plastic bags which we dispose of in the dustbins, and then they eventually die because of choking of air or because of improper digestion issues. Now, all these are different, and really harmful disadvantages that we have towards the society. And as a responsible citizen, there are some things that we can do. And these some things are, whenever you see that there is, plastic getting burnt, ensure that you do not burn plastic. All right. Also, there is this 5R concept that you all probably know about, but then we'll see. This 5R concept is reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and refuse. So if someone is asking you to use a lot of plastic or use a plastic bag, you may want to use a cloth bag and reduce the use of plastic. And if you find a plastic bottle which is just, instead of throwing it out, you may want to plant some small, you know, plant or a variant of, a very small sapling in it, so that this plastic can be used effectively rather than just throwing it on the roads. Recycle, as I said, is also another variant. Recycle is, again, a similar example of what I said. Recover is everything that you find that is, of no use. You may want to, kind of take it and see if it can be used in another way, and then refuse. If someone offers you to use plastic, then you may tell them that plastic is not the material that you're supposed to use. So things like these can actually bring a lot of difference to the environment, right? If you see that the plastic is really strong, you may want to use it for the right purpose rather than just throwing it off on the road, right? So these are the different ways how plastic can be used and also how they should not be used. Now, here are some key words related to it. Acrylic, I'm sure now by now you all know what acrylic is. You have artificial silk, which is directly an example of synthetic fiber. Rayon, you have plastic. We all know what plastic is. Nylon, we know that it is a very strong, lightweighted, and a super elastic kind of a material. Polyester, polymer, polythene, rayon. We just talked about all of these. Terylene, synthetic fibers, thermoplastics, and thermosetting plastics. We've taken examples of these two, and I've just shown you a couple of examples that I have lying right around me. Now, what I want you to do is, as a small exercise, you may want to write down some examples of nylon, polyester, terylene, and thermoplastics and thermosetting plastics in the comment section below. And trust me, if you do that, it's not just me who will be happy. That you'll also see that there's a lot of people who's learning from your examples. So yeah, I think now you know answers to all of these questions that are explained here about how, what, why, and where plastic should be used and should not be used. If you have any queries, then I assume that by now you know where to reach out to me at. You can reach out to me at on the Instagram ID that has been mentioned to you, which is Hyderabadi_Chora, or you can also reach out to me on the YouTube comment section below, right? So thank you very much. This is me, Varun, signing out, wishing you an all the best and a great journey ahead. Thank you very much for being with me. Take care of yourself.